Good evening. This is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Today, our very special guest is Ali Simmons, who is with the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless, CCH. Welcome, Ali. Could you tell us a little bit about the mission and your position at CCH?
Okay. Yes, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, so at CCH, we, have this belief that like housing is a human right, that, nobody, no matter what they're going through, should have to be without, adequate housing. And based on that belief, we, advocate and organize, toward, you know, assisting individuals who are homeless and eventually eradicate homelessness itself. And my position at CCH is case and street outreach working with the law department. And what that entails is I go out and I primarily work with, our unsheltered population. That's individuals who are living on the street. But I do provide support in other areas, of the law department, as necessary.
What is the most common problem that the homeless people encounter and that you have to assist them with?
The most common problem is lack of housing. And, although CCH is not a housing agency, we do try to, do what we can to, assist folks toward, establishing permanent housing, whether that be, through the advocacy in our organizing department, working on, different policies that might, bring about that. We also do a limited amount of work, around like challenging some, eviction work. We do housing assessments, I think, which is, very important. What a housing assessment is, you go out and you ask a person, a specific number of questions that's on this form, and you basically log their answers into a database called HMIS. And what this database does is it notifies housing providers who are working, with the city in various programs that this individual is, homeless and also is, searching for, housing. And if that person is a match to that particular housing program, they will reach out to that individual and offer them housing.
What about individuals who are on the verge of becoming homeless? Let's say they lost a job or had a medical emergency and can't pay the rent for who knows how long. How are you
Well,
able to help them?
in those instances, we kind of like refer them to, agencies like for the city that may provide rental assistance. If they are, on the verge of getting evicted, we, may refer them to, other organizations or agencies that we know that handle, a lot more eviction work. Anything, we can do to either help this individual or connect them with the services that they need, we try to get involved.
We
I don't,
actually,
I don't,
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
We actually have a good friend in Rogers Park. His companion, who was his caretaker, recently passed away, and he doesn't know anything about paying rent and maintaining housing, etc. So, and he is a senior citizen, and how would we be able to help him because he his rent was due, and then we could try to connect him with services. But what actually is the best way to help someone like him?
The best way to assist that individual actually would be to try to find out exactly why he's having, the difficulty he's having in paying his rent or, et cetera. And once you figure out exactly what all is standing in his way of, doing what he's supposed to do, then you'll know exactly what services that, you could recommend him to. Like if he's having issues, maintaining, money, managing his money properly,
Mhm.
then by him being a senior citizen, you could probably look into him maybe getting a payee that could help him get around a lot of this stuff. So each person is different. It
Mhm.
all depends on, what their needs are, which, entails an assessment of them by talking to them as individuals. Uh, there's no like, you know, one shoe fit all,
Mhm.
remedy for this type of issue. Everybody comes with, similar issues, but also different issues as well.
Is it okay if we ask him to contact you, and then would you be able to maybe give him some suggestions?
Most definitely. Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ali.
How
No
about a
problem.
suggestion of someone who may have lost their job or lost their income in some sort of way, has no way to pay the rent, and has a lot of things in their apartment? How could you assist someone like that?
Well, again, that is kind of like not routinely the kind of issues we deal with. Those would be, you know, issues that an individual will have to, deal with on their own. Our goal is to help people, obtain permanent housing. It's just, certain things that, we just can't, you know, get into, trying to assist a person with, because that's not necessarily the work that we do. But anything along the lines of, protecting individuals' civil rights, making sure individuals, have accesses to the services that they need. Now, if there are services that can help facilitate getting this person to, where they need to be, and we know of those services, then by all means, we could definitely make referrals and, connect that individual to the services they need. But it's only so much that, we do.
So you're pointing people into the right direction, people in need, people who are without homes, and you're saying housing is a human right. Um, have you ever worked with tent cities in the city of Chicago?
Yes, definitely. The one that's on Roosevelt Des Plaines, we recently were just working with individuals in the tent city in Uptown, where, they just actually had to move because Park District is doing some work in the area where they were actually living. So, yeah, most definitely.
And
And
now we have a tent city in Rogers Park, and they may be the people from Uptown that were moved from Uptown. What would you do for them? The residents, the people living in tents in Toohey Park and Rogers Park.
Okay, I'm aware of Tui Park. I've been there a few times. I actually, assisted individuals that were in that park with getting placed in shelters. And I think the issue really all boils down to the lack of affordable housing. People living there don't want to be there. They would prefer to be housed. But there's like a large part of that population is from the north side, and they can't find affordable housing on the north side. They can't find shelters on the north side. So they saying before they, move from an area that they are familiar with, that they are comfortable with, that all of their resources are in, they would rather live on the street. It's difficult for somebody to be placed in a shelter on the south side, but all of their resources is on the north side, and they have to go to that commute on a daily basis or whenever it's, necessary for them to do so. So, I would think, if you're really trying to assist those individuals, then, you connect them to services that can eventually lead to them getting housed. And if there's a lack of services, then people should get involved with asking that, those particular services be provided, whether that be through the city or, whatever agency is directly being impacted by those individuals in whatever location they are in.
what services are provided now, and what services are lacking, would you say?
Well, the main service is lack of affordable housing. We can't expect for someone to just uproot themselves from somewhere that they feel, safe and secure, and just go on this adventure that, they don't know how it's going to turn out. At least there they are, sure about what's going to happen, what to expect on a day-to-day basis. So, in terms of connecting them to services, again, it goes back to affordable housing. It goes back to having, more shelter space. Right now, there's not even enough shelter space for every individual who's homeless if those individuals chose to go to a shelter. So by that being the case, is only so much that, non-housing providers can do.
Do you have any statistics or numbers about the amount of shelters available versus the need now versus, let's say, 10 years ago?
No, I wouldn't. I can definitely get those statistics for you about reaching out to somebody that can, get them for me, but I wouldn't know them off the top of my head. No.
But is it worse now, or is it uh, on the whole about the same, the homelessness?
Again, you're asking for a comparison between now and 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I wasn't even, here. So
That's okay.
I cannot make that comparison. I
It's no
wouldn't be
problem.
able to know, and I'm not aware of any statistics that can, give that information. But I can definitely ask.
Thank you.
No problem.
You mentioned that about some outreach materials that are distributed by the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless Law Project. So, what do those outreach materials contain? Just information about your organization?
No, information about the particular service that being provided. Like we assist individuals with applying for public benefits. Along with that, we pass out brochures that provide folks with the information along those lines. Explain to them about their rights to these benefits. If they qualify, obviously, and we also, provide like step by step, assistance in helping them apply because some folks they don't have telephones, they don't have computers or what have you. Some of them are not able to even make it to interviews that the Department of Human Services may want to have. So we kind of like provide that bridge to whatever is keeping them from accessing that services. A lot of individuals simply just don't know how, and we assist them with that as well. We provide information about how college students can apply for SNAP benefits. Uh, what else? We provide information about the rights of unsheltered individuals, like to space or property that they may have, things of that nature. What the city can do, what they're not supposed to be doing. Uh, with outreach, we also go out and we monitor, street cleanings as they are being, conducted by city officials to make sure individuals' rights are not being, violated. Uh, what else? It's just a bunch of, services that's, being provided. Then we're letting folks know that, we provide these services. And if we don't provide them, then we can make referrals to folks who can.
Could you give us an example or a couple examples of what the city can do and what the city cannot do?
Okay, so say for instance, the city is going to an encampment and whether they want folks to just get up and move and not return, or if they just want to clean it. There's a process that they have to go through. They have to post a notice, give an individual at least 7 days, before whatever action that's going to be taken is taken. This notice can let them know that, okay, you either have to permanently, vacate this area, or, it's just going to be clean and folks need to move their stuff so that the area can be properly cleaned. After that notice is posted, then on whatever day the city come through, we go out there and we make sure that they are not throwing people's stuff away, which is, common most times. Well, not gonna say most times, but a lot of times it happens. They go out there and someone might not be with their possessions, and somebody else that's living in that location might tell the city like, okay, no, that's somebody's stuff. They're living there, but they're just not here right now. they can't just throw that individual stuff away. They're not supposed to. They're not supposed to just go out there and tell folks, okay, yeah, you got to get up or you got to move right now. They're supposed to give them time to do whatever it is they need to do, find, a different location, access services, whatever it is they need to do.
So when you mentioned about what they can do and cannot do with space, that's the space that you're talking about. That space that they've claimed as their little space to sleep, the homeless, right?
Yes, it's whatever space they are in. Obviously there are, policies that govern, where they can be, how they can be there, how long they can be there, so on and so forth. But, ultimately it's still a way in which you go about treating them. You don't just say, okay, you have no rights. We could just do whatever it is we want to you and your belongings, and nothing is going to be done about it.
Let's say that the homeless do have rights, but what if the city infringes on those rights? Does that happen often? And if it does happen, is there any enforcement, any penalties for the city for violating these unhoused individuals' rights?
Okay, I didn't catch the first part of your question.
When the city or whoever does the cleanings, they're not supposed to violate the unhoused people's rights. But if they do violate the rights and throw some of their possessions away, what can be done about that? Is there any recourse and to get the items back, or any compensation? What happens? Is there any enforcement about what the city cannot do, but they do it anyway if they do it?
Well, yes, there's actually like what you call a homeless bill of rights, which articulates what the rights of individuals who are living on the street is. Uh, there is, recourse in the courts or through the courts for, a violation of individuals' rights under the homeless bill of rights. Uh, the law department has actually represented, I know, two individuals or a few individuals in cases along those lines, and they were actually successful. So there are, ways in which, a person who has their rights violated can, pursue recourse.
Are you in communication with the sister agencies of the city, such as the Chicago Park District, the Chicago Police Department, and the Chicago Transit Authority?
I do know we are, we're in communication with the Park District, CPD. We don't encounter, that much, if ever. CTA, we have had communication with them in the past that I'm aware of, but not a lot.
Do you work with the aldermen?
We try to, yes, but not necessarily the law department, but CCH overall as an organization. With the work that we do, of course, yes, we try to work with as many aldermen as we can.
In what ways do you work with the Department of Family and Support Services?
We work with them to try to facilitate seamless cleanings of areas. Like if they want to just go out and clean the area, and we can engage with the folks and get them to cooperate so that they can return to that particular area. We can go out and kind of like provide that bridge to the people who are living in that area. We try to work with the DFSS in terms of coming to agreements on how situations will be addressed or should be addressed. We have a very good I think communication is just sometimes they have to do their job and we have to do ours.
So have you worked with the Department of Family and Supportive Services about the Tui Park?
We have talked with DFSS about Tui Park, but Tui Park is actually the Park District's jurisdiction. So, they would be the ones that would make, whatever decisions about Tweed Park.
Would
And
you
we
go?
have been in communication with the park district about the individuals at Tweed Park. And that's actually how we got involved in it, pretty much. The park district. And then we do have a working relationship with them as well. We try to, help, make things go as smooth as possible, but we've never, advocated for displacement of individuals. We never will. We don't think that's the way. But, at the same time, we try to make sure folks' rights are not violated. We're doing whatever it is we can.
How many individuals in Tui Park have you helped to find permanent housing?
To my knowledge, none have found permanent housing, but I think there were at least 4 or 5 that I helped get into shelters.
And they couldn't find permanent housing because they didn't qualify for permanent housing? There wasn't any available, or was there some other reason?
The reason why they don't qualify, I wouldn't know. Again, that goes to, the lack of affordable housing. Everybody, that can't afford, market rate rent, there's not even enough units to provide them, with the housing. So again, it's not necessarily about, qualifications all the time. It's sometimes just the lack of the need. I mean, the lack of what the people need. And
What
that's affordable housing.
What about those motels that offer to house the disunhoused individuals? Is it the city that is asking if they could help, or is it the motels that are volunteering to help? And does that alleviate some of the need?
I think it's a mixture of both, maybe, but I would believe it's the city reaching out, trying to see if folks would actually, participate in that, particular program. I don't know how they do it. I don't know all of the ramifications of it, but that would be something that the city would reach out, and ask about, because it's something that's funded by them.
Have you seen any progress? You've worked so hard over the years. Has there been any progress in your work? Have you seen things, anything that has changed for the better?
Oh, most definitely. The way in which people on the street are being treated now, as opposed to when I first started, has changed. I think a lot, and that's a testament of, not just CCH doing his job, but other people, understanding, what homelessness is, how it looks, and realizing that there is no quick solution to it, and you just can't keep, you know, forcing, individuals who are going through that from one place to the next, just because someone else might not want to see them in that particular location.
And what are your biggest challenges in doing your job?
The biggest challenge, honestly, is not being able to help individuals access the one thing that they really, really want and need, and that's affordable housing. It's like, no matter how much, we do, it's still predicated on there being, some kind of providing of this need, which is affordable housing. We, there's a campaign going called Bring Chicago Home, which seeks to kind of like help, bring this about. And if people would support that, aldermen, citizens, I think that would put a big dent in, this homeless situation that we are, finding ourselves in.
Could you talk a little bit, describe a little bit about the Bring Chicago Home to our viewers, and also about how Chicago Coalition for the Homeless is involved in this initiative?
Well, okay, it's an initiative that's seeking to increase the real estate transfer tax on properties, I believe. And I'm not well versed on this because I, don't talk about it that much. I, don't deal with it that much in the line of work that I do. I'm just aware of it, being something that we are actively involved in. But they want to raise the real estate transfer tax by a certain percentage. I can't remember the number. Uh, and this would only be applicable to properties that are, I believe, over $1 million. And it's a one-time tax. It's not a tax that's going to be continuously levied against anyone. It's a one-time tax. And the proceeds from this, we are asking that they be dedicated strictly to, resolving, homelessness. And that right there in itself would bring in, X amount of money, which can increase, the ability to address that need, which is affordable housing.
Are there any other solutions? Because you're in a position to see what works and what doesn't work. What else do you see that might work? That you know, among all your contacts, that could provide more affordable housing to the city of Chicago.
Okay, what exactly are you asking?
Do you see has anybody talked with you and then see that there are solutions that have not been implemented yet, but that are very feasible, that you might see in your position about like the catch-22s that could be eliminated, or something to that nature?
Well, I'm trying. I don't think anybody has necessarily come to, me with solutions or thoughts on solutions. I can say that pretty much primarily the main, focal point has been affordable housing because let me put it like this. Say for instance I make 50,000 a year. I'm in a position where I might be able to afford rent that's $1,500 a month. For someone that's making half of that, they can't afford $1,500 a month rent. So there has to be some, pathway by which, we can focus on keeping them housed. And, we know that there's not enough jobs that's going to pay people the type of money that can allow everybody to pay that amount of rent. So how do we resolve that? If this is the amount of rent is, that's going to be, requested, then maybe either, minimum wage has to increase, or there has to be some middle ground. You can't just keep asking folks to pay this amount of money and not giving them the money to pay it with.
Well,
You know what
thank
I
you so
mean?
much, Ali Simmons,
No problem.
Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. Really appreciate it and all the information you gave us today.
No problem. I appreciate you all having me.
This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. I'm Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much, Ali, for joining us. Have a good night, and thank you so much for watching.